Max Verstappen was clearly unhappy during the third free practice session in Las Vegas. As he worked through a long stint on medium tires, the Dutch driver didn't hold back in expressing his frustration with the performance of his RB20, stating that things were only getting worse. After a difficult start in FP1 and FP2, Red Bull Racing had hoped for better results on Saturday, but the third practice session offered no improvement. While on the medium tires, Verstappen quickly relayed to engineer Gianpiero Lambiase that his tires were degrading, and the situation soon deteriorated even further. Red Bull's struggles at the Las Vegas Grand Prix were evident, particularly with the rear wing, which proved to be more draggy than those of their competitors. In an effort to help Max and Sergio Perez cope with the long straights, the team brought a trimmed rear and beam wing configuration, rather than developing a specific setup for the unique demands of this track. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko later admitted that the wrong rear wing was brought to the US for this race, a mistake that severely impacted their performance on the high-speed circuit. Verstappen's championship hopes hinge on finishing ahead of McLaren's Lando Norris, or at least not losing more than 2 points to him. However, with the current difficulties, the outcome of the race remains uncertain. Max has been vocal about his frustration with Red Bull's rear wing issue in Las Vegas, feeling that the team is essentially allowing their rivals to gain an advantage. During practice, it was clear that Red Bull lacked the straight-line speed of their competitors, with GPS data revealing that the team was 7 km/h slower on the straights compared to Mercedes and McLaren. This highlighted the need for adjustments to the rear wing to reduce drag. While Max's top speed deficit improved during qualifying, he still felt his RB20 wasn't on par with its closest competitors, particularly because Red Bull didn't have a low-drag rear wing, an advantage McLaren's Norris had at his disposal. Verstappen pointed out that Red Bull does not have a specialized low-drag wing for high-speed circuits like Las Vegas and Monza, a situation driven in part by budget cap limitations. However, he believes this is a choice that should be reevaluated. We opted to not make one. We don't have one. So this is already from 2022. I think we just never thought we would run it that low. And then with the budget cap, you choose your priorities, and we shifted that. We would have liked to have a lower wing, a lower downforce wing, or at least a different shape, a more efficient shape. It's something I will look at, but on the other hand, there's only one more year left with these rules, and I don't know if it makes sense, but for me at least, it feels like we throw away 2 race weekends like this because you definitely lose too much on the straights. Aside from his mechanical DNF in Australia, Max experienced his second worst result of the season at Monza in September, finishing in 6th place. He believes a similar result is possible in Las Vegas. When asked about where he felt he was losing time, Max responded, "In the corners and on the straights. We know that with our wing naturally you lose top speed, especially with the DRS open. It's a bit of a handicap. We knew that, and that's something that we have to deal with on a track like this track, like Monza. But also besides that, I always felt like, the tires were a bit of a struggle for us to get them in the right operating window. I do think that we did the best we could in qualifying with what we had, and then P5 is the result. We got a bit lucky because with Lewis not putting a lap in, otherwise it would have been P6. I think we really maximized what we could." Throughout the championship battle, fans have seen different facets of Max and Lando's friendship. In an attempt to set the record straight, Lando told the media that he and Max aren't necessarily close friends. Although they seemed to have a strong friendship before the season began, their relationship has grown more intense as the season has progressed, with pointed comments about each other's driving becoming more common. Lando has now taken a clear stance on their friendship, saying, "Everybody thinks we're better mates than we are. I have other people who are my real friends, my true friends." For Lando to keep his slim chances of winning the World Championship alive, he needs to finish ahead of Max and outscore him by at least 3 points. The McLaren driver, however, seemed to downplay the significance of qualifying results and is now focusing on minimizing the damage from Ferrari, with attention shifting back to the Constructors' Championship. Whether he wins or not tomorrow, for me it's not going to change anything. He's pretty likely to win the championship. I'm here to race and do my best in every single race I can. Whether Max finishes ahead or not, that's life. He's only just ahead of us today. I think we have a chance to beat them tomorrow. I'll go out and do my best like I do in every single race. McLaren is currently locked in a battle with Ferrari and Red Bull for the Constructors' Championship. Heading into the race, both Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc start ahead of Lando and Max, giving Ferrari an advantage. Despite this, McLaren, with Lando at the helm, has regularly managed to set the fastest times on track, steadily closing the gap to Max and Red Bull. Max, as always, showed his resilience, picking up points with his characteristic Verstappen factor. However, it was clear that Norris and McLaren were consistently strong contenders, while Red Bull faced a serious challenge. Fast forward a few months after the Brazilian Grand Prix, and the situation has shifted dramatically. McLaren has taken the lead in the Constructors' Championship, in part due to Sergio Perez's underwhelming performances. However, in the Drivers' Championship, McLaren is still playing catch-up. After a dominant display from Max in Brazil, he's now in a strong position to secure his fourth title as early as Las Vegas. This is a positive development for Red Bull, but also has McLaren's attention, as the title race this season seems largely settled. That said, next year brings a fresh start for the drivers, with a clean slate. With his championship hopes all but over, Lando Norris offered an honest assessment of his season. After securing his first ever F1 victory at the Miami Grand Prix, Norris and McLaren's title charge gained considerable momentum mid-season. He steadily chipped away at Max's points lead, bringing it down to just 47 points after the Mexico City Grand Prix. However, Max's commanding performance in Brazil effectively ended Norris's hopes of an improbable title challenge, as the gap was extended back to 62 points. Despite falling short, Norris views this season as a period of significant growth, filled with both valuable lessons and moments of learning from mistakes, his own and those of the team, amid the intense competition. When asked whether he believes these lessons will make him stronger next season, Norris reflected honestly on his journey. He admitted he didn't expect this year to be one where he would challenge for the title, but regardless, it has been a season of development and experience. Yeah, I think going into a season with a mindset of let's try and win it, it's a very different mindset to what we had this year. It's been a different story throughout the season. We started miles off the pace. Red Bull was extremely dominant, more dominant than any other team has been for the rest of the year. We've been extremely quick and probably one of the quickest for the most part. But when we have been, it's been by a much smaller margin. So to create the differences that they were able to create in the beginning of the year, it's pretty much impossible. I feel like I've still done a very good job, but it's clear one thing you'll always get from me is the honesty of whether I've done a good job, a bad job, or whether we as a team have done a good job or a bad job, and I'll be honest with what I say. While Max's path to a fourth title looks promising, especially after his dominant win in Brazil, it's clear that the Las Vegas race threw some curveballs for both him and Red Bull. On the other hand, Lando Norris is still pushing hard to keep his slim championship hopes alive, and the rivalry between him and Max has definitely reached a new level of intensity. But this season has also been one of progress for Norris and McLaren, who've proven they're not backing down anytime soon. So, what do you think? Will Max seal the deal on his fourth title in Las Vegas, or can Norris pull off one final charge? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest F1 updates.